task we are going to speak about internationalization. How many of you know what is mean? Raise your hands. How many of you have one single language application? Could you raise a hand? Only you? So everyone else is dealing with a few languages in their app? Yeah? What? 15. Oh, so much. And who of you have only one language? Have you used internationalization in your app? Huh? Why? Because it's complicated. Because if you will use, your app became more flexible. Because, for example, if your client decided to change everything, every single naming in just one place, you just grab the text and change it and so on. Another point, translation and text has become a content. And you know what's amazing point about content? It's not your business. You just send it to PM and he will change it. Or at least you can sign up your client in GitHub and say, well, you don't like it, you can change it and we will just deploy it. Cool? And another good point, you are avoiding the typos. You just manipulated some keys, and if you made a mistaken key, it just will bring you an error. And you will immediately fix, because currently there is 2 mistakes. Does everyone see them? View? Yeah, view. And another one? Yeah. Export campaigns. It's a tricky word. With internationalization, you don't have this. But internationalization is not so popular when you have one language, so you can avoid it because of 2 things. A good product and a good idea have a good tools and predictable defaults. What about the tools of internationalization? It has a backend, it has a live reload, it has interpolation, pluralization. Does everyone knows about this stuff with pluralization? Yeah? A good one. It saves a lot of time actually. In many projects I see before, so you are maybe much smarter. And it also has the defaults. But the defaults are really tricky, because if you put a symbol for the defaults, it will look in the translation. But if you put the string, it will just return the string. So knowing all these things can help you to write a more clear code. What about defaults? Do we have defaults in our translation? What defaults you know in Rails translation?
Translation easy.
Yeah, a good one, but it's probably some kind of notification actually. Actually we don't have them. The only one default is dot before the key, which will add controller name and action name. So the problem why people don't use internationalization in their app, because it's hard to write all these long strings. So let's bring some defaults which will reduce your time on using internationalization. The comments. This kind of text is like view, save, update, submit, and so on. They are mostly the same text in each application. But for some section, it's good to have some kind of local defaults. For example, when you have a form which submit some email, it's good to have text not save, but send. You send them a mail. With this method, as you can see, you just add this extra key and it will be used. If it's not a feedback controller, it will be used the default save. Easy and safe. The next one, when you want to display some attributes in your form. For example, how many of you have a table which has the header with name of columns? Raise your hands, please. What do you use for the naming if you use in translation? Yeah, you.
Variable, is it the same as in other situations?
Variable?
I put all the translations in if we use YAML file.
Yeah, you put inside the view's translation, yeah?
If I'm using YAML file, but if that is simple key.
Simple key? But you duplicating your translation, because a lot of
Well, it depends.
most of all
Most of cases, yeah.
yeah, because at most time created ad, it just created it everywhere. But when you created an email, it's probably sent ad. With this helper method, which you can use, you just say, hey, this key translate for that model, and use some code from the active record. And even more, if you are a user controller, it's obvious that you are talking about user. So knowing the name of the controller can help you figure out what's the model name, and then easily to use this helper method. The same name when you use model name human. If you want just a singular form, you just use human, but if you need a plural form, what do you use for this? Does anyone know how to get the plural version of the human name?
Yes.
Count.
Yes, with count.
Yeah. With this one, you just put at the second attribute and you are done. And the actions. How many of you duplicated this stuff? A lot of time. When you create it, you need to inform your user that something has been created. With this TA method, you just say, this action, create. Second, you put what's the model you need. If you avoid it, it can be get it from the controller name. And then you tell how many records are you using, or this action on one record, on a few. If one, it will use the single model, and the user has been created. The article has been updated. The remote control has been deleted. But for some cases, it's not a case to use has been deleted, has been created, and has been updated, because a business logic requires us to use some business vocabulary. So we can override actions for some of the model. For example, for email, we want to use this one. The email has been sent, because it makes more sense than we created something, but actually we just send it. And all together will help us to do something like this. In header we have campaigns. It's the same form which I showed you before. Just a second. Take a look how it changed. You see? And then with these defaults, you avoid all this boring stuff. You just say a plural resource in the title, export or create a resource. You can pass as the second argument the name of the model, but if it's campaign, it's obvious that it will be campaign. The same, you can export blah blah blah, and use this fancy helper method to fill the headers for the table. And the common view. So you will not write some typos if you write view 100 times. It's definitely a big chance that you write view in the wrong way. Nope. Thanks.